You know, in this podcast, I'm aiming to just get more personal and just to let y'all in a little bit on my life. And we're coming up on 20 years of one of the most life-changing experiences that I ever had. Probably the first thing that really rocked my world, especially in my early adulthood. I will never forget Tuesday, August 23rd, 2005. Man, what was going on then? What was like the number one? I'm Sprung, T-Pain, that was coming out, I think, around that time. Young Jeezy, he was hot at that time. Boom, boom, clap, boom, boom. That was out, that was hot back then. I can't think of any movies that was out in 2005. Wasn't really a big movie person, but not at that time. But I was working at Home Depot though. And there was a situation where I let my parents slide by with a couple things because I'm working at Home Depot. My mother, she never wanted to do it though. She was totally 100% against it. But me and my pops, we convinced her. It was like, yeah, you know, I got you. She needed the house painted. You know, I'm working at the Home Depot, and man, that happened just once. And I walk in on August 23rd, 2005. It was my last day working at the Home Depot for 135th in Overland Park. And I told them when my last day was because I had to go back up to Northwest Missouri State. This is my third year of college at Northwest Missouri State. But the thing was, I was suspended. But I had already committed to being a roommate and signed papers and all of that to my roommate at the time. Shout out to Cougar Gray, my dog. You know I love you. And so I felt committed. Even though I was suspended for academic reasons, I felt obligated to still go to this apartment with my dog, even though I wasn't in school. I figured I'd just go get a job at McDonald's, Subway, Walmart or something, you know, do that for 4 or 5 months, enroll back in school, because after the suspension is only for a semester, so you can enroll back in and for the spring semester. So that was my plan. But boy, so I told them at Home Depot when my last day was. And so I walk in on this Tuesday, August 23rd in 2005. My manager says, "Hey, Brian, the general manager wants to see you." I said, oh, God. I already knew what was finna happen, y'all. I already knew what was going on. I said, man, for what? She said, who cares? It's your last day. Just go, just go see him. I said, all right. Walk my ass to the back. Not only is it the general manager, but it's also the lady from the loss and prevention department. You know where this is leading to. The questions are nice to start out. Hey, I hear you're majoring in broadcasting. You're at Northwest Missouri State. It sounds so good. Blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes later, well, who is this on this picture in this day? And what were you doing on this day? Da, 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 da. And the picture was of my mother. I had never felt worse in my entire life. Ever. I still ain't never felt that bad. I felt like the worst person in the world. It was awful. And mind you, this is, 5 days after my 20th birthday, by the way. What a way to kick off your 20s. I hear a knock at the door. It's the Overland Park Police Department. I said, y'all gonna arrest me for this shit? You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be blah, 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 blah. As I'm writing my statement down, this is happening, y'all. So, I get walked out of Home Depot in handcuffs, and I go to jail for the first and only, thank God, time in my life. So, I mean, I was only in the holding cell. I wasn't in there doing time or doing push-ups or, getting commissary and none of that. I was only in the holding cell for several hours, though. So I don't want to make it seem like I was doing hard time or anything like that. But just the fact that I was in jail, dog, I was like, what am I doing? I'm suspended from school. I'm up here in jail for some bullshit. Where's my life going? What we doing, dog? And so my father comes and picks me up from Boone County, Kansas. Ooh, don't never want to go there, boy. So, he picks me up, and I ultimately get diversion, which is another form of probation. And you do the probation, you take, P tests, go to classes, it gets expunged off your record. And so I had to do that for a year. I go back up to Northwest, though, and, I only have enough money to pay bills for maybe 2 months or so. And y'all, I try to go find a job everywhere. At Subway, at McDonald's, at Walmart, at wherever I could find a job. I tried, y'all. I filled in every application and all of that. And filling in applications back then was a headache. It ain't how it is now where you got autofill and you can do it on the internet or whatever. It was a headache back then. But nobody would even look at me because of this situation that I had at Home Depot. And it was so bad, bro. I wanted to be on the radio so bad at Northwest because I was on the on-campus radio station. I felt like the year before I had established my shows. And I'm like, I gotta do my shows, bro. I can't. But they wouldn't allow me to do any shows on at KZLX LP Maryville because I just wasn't a registered student. So you couldn't be on the on-campus station if you wasn't a student taking classes and getting credit for it. So that crushed me too. So this was a time and a period where I'm just in just complete solitude and silence because I am literally at home every day in my apartment just sitting there. Might watch a little TV, but I'm literally just doing nothing. A complete bum. Not in school. I went to jail. I ain't got no job. I'm just a complete bum. I still have my eviction notice because they gave me, I think, 2 eviction notices during that time when I was at my apartment. And what rent was maybe like $550, $600 maybe. So I was responsible for half of that, but I had nothing. I had no money. I had spent everything on the bills that I had. I tell you how God could save you, though, and how he's always there. He never leaves you in your roughest periods. There was a party that went on that I attended in like November or so of that year. And it was this guy, he was like flashing money or whatever at this party, this college party at Northwest. And when I left this party and I was walking home to my apartment, I kid you not, it was over $200 in 20s on the ground that I got. I call it manna from heaven. Of course, I spent that money, a lot of that money on bills that I could. And my mother, she threw me a couple bones or whatever that I could throw towards some bills. But I made sure that I went and I bought these fish sticks that will try and last me for the last month and a half that I can make it until Christmas break and I can get home. So for the last month and a week or a few weeks or so, I ate nothing but fish sticks and bread and water until I was coming back to Kansas City for Christmas break, and I was registered in classes and Northwest and all of that. And when I was registering for classes, trying to get back into Northwest for the spring semester, Mr. Fred Lamer, I will never forget him. If you've ever been to Northwest and you attended there and you was in the mass comm department, you know how much of a beast Fred Lamer is. But he saved my life because the advisor that I had at the time, he wasn't doing nothing. Like nothing for me. Fred Lamer looked me in my eye. He said, look, if you want to graduate and stop bullshitting around, make me your advisor. It was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. He was my advisor from there on out. And I was able to graduate from Northwest in 2008. And there are plenty more hills and valleys that came with that. But Fred Lamer definitely changed my life. And that was a start. By that time in January 2006 now, that was a time where, okay, now I'm really starting to get my stuff together, because I got back into school. I got some kickback money from financial aid, and I was able to catch up on all my bills and everything. I got some good classes that I'm involved in now. I got more of my core classes, and I'm interested more. So, because before I was not interested in trying to go to class, but I needed that wake up call, man, bad, to really like, bro, you need to step your game up. And I knew that life was real after that. That was my first wake up call, being an adult, and knowing how life was how real life was about to get, especially with what's about to happen in 2006. Because a couple things, I'll give you a little preview of this, because this will be a whole pod later on in Brian's World that I had to do another 20th anniversary of, because I got my internship at Hot 103 Jams in the spring of 2006. And then 1 week into that internship, a whole other life-changing situation happens for me. While I'm going through this stuff, that I just went through in 2005. But we will revisit that on the 20th anniversary of that day, again, later on this year in Brian's World. But man, it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of trying to grow up on the fly and grow up quickly. And really just of me really becoming a man. That was really one of my first maturation processes, was that situation that happened to me during that Home Depot incident, August 23rd, 2005. I've learned so much from that incident, and it's really propelled me personally and professionally. And I'll never forget that day, ever. So, and I say all that to say, man, look, if you're going through something similar to that, and you're really trying to dig out of it, or you don't see yourself in that situation going forth with your future, you can dig up out of that. You can get up out of that situation. It's up to you and your determination and your future and what you thinking, man. If I can do it, you can do it too. That is the pod for the week, man. I definitely appreciate you tapping in to Brian's World right here on Foolish Club Media. Please rate, subscribe, and review at Foolish Club Media on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube to check out all the Fire Chiefs content and podcasts that we got cracking on Foolish Club Media. And while you on YouTube, please subscribe, like, share the Be Shynin page on YouTube, man. So you can check out every single episode of Brian's World that drops every single Wednesday during football season, man. Be Shynin on YouTube, man. Give me a subscription. Make my day, please, man. And before I get up out of here, I want to send a special thank you to everybody who participated in making my 40th birthday the best birthday I've ever had in my life. All of our friends and family, you mean so much to me. And I said our because my wife is so amazing. She did a whole weekend. She tired herself out. She made herself uncomfortable with a lot of situations. And baby, I love you so much. I thank you so much. You have made my life so amazing. You made it amazing ever since I met you, but specifically the past couple weeks or the past couple months, man, you have just been a godsend. You've been an angel, and I thank you for making my day special. And you already know I'm gonna return the favor with interest. I love you, baby. And I love all my friends and family. And I love you for tapping into Brian's World. We'll be back at it next week. The last preseason game is done, and we're marching on to the regular season, baby. Until then, Kansas City, be a blessing. Chiefs Kingdom, mount up.
Shut up.